Welcome back. Now we are going to shed a light on the COP27 climate change conference that took place in the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh from the 6th until the 20th of November. We are going to shed light on the important recommendations that came out of the conference. Well, to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have this phone with Dr. Ayman Abdel Wahab, UN coordinator. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Well, Dr. Abdel Wahab, now with the 2 weeks, the conference that Egypt hosted, the COP27 that took place in the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. Well, the title of this conference was Together for Implementation. How did you read it?
Yes. That's absolutely correct. First of all, thank you for having me tonight.
It's my pleasure,
actually,
sir.
what happened during these 2 weeks is very significant. For the first time in one of these COPs, we are having the word implementation, which is very important at this point of time because we don't have the luxury of time. Time has passed already, and if we don't start immediately by implementing what was agreed upon, then we are losing a very valuable time. And President El-Sisi made it very clear that enough talks, enough negotiations, it's time for implementing. And actually, there is lots of memorandum of understanding and agreements that took place between Egypt as the host for COP27, with Saudi Arabia, with Emirates, and with many of the parties that participated in this conference.
Yes.
It was a very unique opportunity to have such a great number of presidents and chief of governments, prime ministers, and ministers in one place talking about this life-defining topic.
Yes.
And Egypt made a very good utilization of this opportunity in different aspects. If we talk about environment, I consider this COP as the most successful COP that took place since the beginning of the first COP.
Yes.
Second, it was a very good opportunity to market our country tourism talking. If we talk about tourism, all the world saw how we were very successful in the logistics, the organization, in hosting this huge number of people in one place, and it went very smoothly. So I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased of what happened, and I'm looking forward for the roadmap to implement what was agreed upon.
Yes. So, Dr. Abdel Wahab, let me mention point by point what you've just mentioned. You said, Dr. Abdel Wahab, you talked about that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi described this conference as the time for implementation. Actually, the President, described this conference as it's a time for work and time for action, and he delivered a historic speech before the conference in the inauguration, the opening session of the conference. Also, you talked about the organizing of Egypt's organizing in cooperation with the UN organizing this conference. And you said that talked about the tourism. Yes, this conference, a very well organized conference that attracted the eyes of the whole world to Egypt and attracted tourism to Egypt, and Egypt was able to introduce an example of the green city or the clean city, which is Sharm el-Sheikh. What is the message that Egypt is sending to the whole world by organizing this conference and introducing Sharm el-Sheikh as a green city?
Well, the most important message and the pivotal concept that Egypt made during this COP that we have turned Sharm el-Sheikh into a green city.
Yes.
This is an example. All other countries can follow suit and do as we did. We used buses using green energy. We used so many means that utilized, the concept of green and sustainable energy during Sharm el-Sheikh. So this is the most important message, that if we can do this in one city, we can do this in all cities, and we can serve the world. But we have to be very careful that no single country will save the world. It has to be a collaborative effort for all nations, for all the people of the world, for the advanced world and the developing world. Nobody can save himself alone, and no country can save itself alone. And as I mentioned, that the environmental aspect was the main theme of the COP, but tourism as a byproduct was a very important one. And actually, President Sisi, he is not only a president, he's a leader, and he is a very charismatic leader.
Yes.
And he took this opportunity to talk about the war between Russia and Ukraine.
Yes.
And he intervened by saying that if I may say, I can do anything to stop this war. Yes. His words will not be taken lightly, because he is a very important leader in the region, and he is very influential. And I think he can do a very big role in this regard. And we cannot separate between politics and environment. Politics and the environment are very close to each other and very overlapping, because when we talk about utilization of resources, we are talking about countries want to utilize the fossil fuel, want to utilize the coal, and want to provide enough energy for its people, and then they come in conflict with green economy and so on. So all these aspects, politics, environment, economy, tourism, and even peace and war. So we are talking about a very complicated network. That's why I'm saying that President Sisi was very clear about this. He talked about environment. He talked about politics. He talked about the ongoing war, which is affecting the economy. Yes. And affecting the environment. All the military forces, the ammunition, the explosions. It's destructive to the environment, and it's very negative, impacting the entire world. So that's why I'm very pleased with the President Sisi's speech, and it is a clear message.
Yes, of course.
The world has to come together. All the world has to come together. Otherwise, and yes, as the Secretary General of the United Nations mentioned, we are running out of time, and we are coming to the point of no return. And if we reach this point, regret will not be of any use.
Yes.
So we have to be very careful.
Yes, it's true that the President's speech before the conference showed the role, the essential role that Egypt plays in the region and the whole world, and coordination and cooperation between Egypt and other countries in order to solve a crisis, and the stance that Egypt has. So, Dr. Abdel Wahab, also would like to shed light on the recommendations that were read by Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, the Foreign Minister and the President of the conference. The Foreign Minister said that setting up a loss and damage fund to help nations cope with the climate included disasters is a historic achievement. So, could you give us your insight concerning this outcome of the conference, and that the Foreign Minister have described this step this point as a historic one?
Well, just before I forget, there is one example that resembles the importance that everyone on this planet has to feel that he is responsible of saving the Earth. I recall what happened from the Japanese delegation that attended the World Cup. After the match, they started collecting all the rubbish and all the garbage that was thrown by the audience during the match. Even the Japan was not playing. They are not the host country, and they are not responsible for what happened. Why? They felt the responsibility as human beings on this planet that they have to share in saving this planet. This is the spirit, and this is the theme that we should think about. Going back to your question about the loss and damage fund.
Yes, the fund that the foreign minister have described as historical.
Yes, exactly. And it is historical already, because this is the first time that this item was put into the agenda. So Egypt was leading in this regard, and we have a rule in the environment that polluters pay. So when we are talking about polluters pay, we have to see exactly the shares of different countries of polluting planet Earth, and it has to be by proportion. If somebody is polluting by 25% or 20% of the carbon dioxide emissions, then this country has to pay 20% of the fund, and this money has to be put in this fund, and the affected countries like Africa, the MENA region, the Middle East, they have to receive these funds to help them cope with the climate change. And actually, I believe that adaptation is the most important activity that is going to take place in the coming decade or so, because the negative impact of climate change is already here. So we are not talking about something that will happen in future. No, we are living climate change, and we have to adapt to climate change until we can reverse the negative impact of climate change. But we have to talk about adaptation, and this is going to be a very important terminology for the coming 10 or 15 years.
Yes, Dr. Abdel Wahab, can we say that the establishing this the fund, the damage, the fund for damage and to help the countries affected, developing countries affected by the global warming or the climate change, is is fulfilling or is explaining the title of the conference this year, which is Together for Implementation?
Yes. As I mentioned at the beginning, that implementation was the main theme that President Sisi pressed on, and implementation has to start by utilizing the money that is going to be allocated for the loss and damage fund for adaptation in different countries of the third world. Like there are going to be land submersion by water. There's going to be erosion of the shores. There's going to be change even in the type of crops that can be cultivated in different countries, because as scientists said that the tropic has moved northward. The tropic has moved northward, which means that the temperature has risen already in many countries, and which make it unsuitable for some crops. There should be adaptation to new types of crops. There should be implementing of some crops that resist extreme heat. Drought has to be dealt with in one way or another, and so on. So we have to classify the different problems in different countries, and
Yes.
Put the plan and the roadmap for reducing the negative impact and coping with the climate change by adapting to these changes until we can reverse the negative impact of climate change.
Yes.
So this fund is very crucial, very important, and the money which is going to be allocated has to be utilized immediately. So I believe that there should be, committees and teams of experts who are preparing project proposals for utilizing this money in the right way and the most economic and most effective way to cope with the climate change.
Yes. So, Dr. Abdel Wahab, can we say that Egypt's presidency to the conference and with Egypt heading the conference and speaking Africa also, does this help facilitating and bringing out a successful conference as Egypt is the center and plays a great role and essential role in the region, in Africa and in the Middle East?
Well, actually, selecting Egypt as the place of this conference is very wise and is going to be very beneficial to the entire world. And it's going to be a historic one, and it is a historic one already, because Egypt, historically, and by its unique geographical location, and by its leadership to the region, I can claim that Egypt is leading Africa, and it's leading the Middle East. So, and it can lead at this very critical point of time in the history of Earth by putting all the efforts together, by providing the know-how, by providing the technical support to the entire region. We have scientists, we have experts in environment management, in circular economy, in sustainability, in green economy. We have to seize this opportunity to utilize the wealth of manpower and the wealth of knowledge that we have to assist all the African countries and the MENA region countries and the Middle East countries to have a common goal and to have a roadmap.
Yes, I think
that is leading to the final goal of abating the negative impact of climate change.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ayman Abdel Wahab, UN coordinator. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone.